You are Locked On Tigers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And oh my goodness, baseball is fun once again. We've got a competent ball club. And just when you're ready to check out and the sky is falling, what do the Tigers do? They reel you back in. Welcome to a live Locked On Tigers postcast edition. I am your host, Jake Rietmo. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietmo or unfollow me for that matter. And this is something we've never done before. Game is not yet officially in the books, but hey, West Coast game, everybody back in the Eastern Standard Time Zone, Eastern Daylight Savings Time Zone. I'm sorry, probably going to bed early, so let's hop on. Tigers up 13-0 right now. I've got the game on to my right in case anything crazy happens, but we got a lot to talk about, and I want to do it before everybody went to sleep. So welcome in. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers postcast your first listen and part of the Locked On Tigers network. Every day we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And like I said, we've got so much to talk about, and in a good way, because oh my, this Tigers team was fun to watch tonight. It's amazing what happens when you have a competent offense, great pitching. We're going to break it all down on this live edition. But before we go anywhere, I want to give a huge shout out to today's presenting sponsor, helping us make today's show possible. That is FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Let me say that again one more time in case you missed it. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And away we go. Like I said, what a day, what a time for this Detroit Tigers team, because just when you're ready to check out and say you're done with this team, Tarik Skubal goes out and does his thing. And after a homestand that went so incredibly wrong, this team comes together after an off day, and like I said, looks like a competent baseball team. So you got to feel really, really good about where they're at in that one. So lots to get into on this edition of Locked On Tigers postcast. We'll start with the offense, a season high in runs. Like I mentioned, this game's still going on, so I don't have a complete final for you, but as it stands right now, 13-0 in the bottom of the eighth inning. The Diamondbacks do have two men on, but like I said on Twitter, feel good about this one, feel good about the Tigers. And I was in the dumps. I was down in the dumps after that abysmal performance against the Marlins in back-to-back games, for that matter. We won't dwell too much on that, but baseball is just such a funny game. You can't explain this stuff. You go from unable to manufacture a single run in 19 innings against the worst pitching staff in baseball to putting up 13 in a single game and putting this game out of reach from the beginning. So how do we get there? One in the second, a crooked number in the third, one more in the fourth, and then six runs in the fifth inning for this Tigers team, two more in the sixth. And like I said, this game's still going on, but 17 hits in total, just a hit parade. And at the top of the list, let's get it out of the way right now. Say something nice about Javy. He looked really good at the plate. A lot of extra base hits, a lot of runs batted in. What a night for Javy Baez and Colt Keith too. My goodness. I mean, who would have thought we led the offensive hit parade with Javy Baez and Colt Keith? But two doubles for Javy Baez. Wenzel Perez in there as well. Kerry Carpenter with the double, his ninth of the season, and some triples as well. How did I not mention the triples? Matt Vierling with the triple. Kerry Carpenter had the big 2-run triple early in the game. 5 RBI for Javy Baez. Riley Green with a run batted in. Kerry Carpenter with 4 RBI. It is just a good night all the way around on the offense. And like I said, Colt Keith with 2 more RBI to bring his season total to 12. And you look at the run with runners in scoring position, 8 of 17. And again, we don't have to make, and nice, the Tigers just got the final out in the 8th inning, so the shutout still intact. We don't have to make this a whole great big thing about the stats and this, that, and the other. I wanna maybe this is just for my dumb brain, but let me know what you think in the comments as well if you're watching on YouTube. I want to dumb it down a little bit and just enjoy this Friday night hit parade, because we know Javy has the worst OPS in all of baseball. We know the stats are not kind, but you look at today's box score and you feel really, really good with 13 runs from that offense. And like I said, baseball is a weird game. We play 162 of these. I say don't get too high, too low, but I am the king of getting too high and getting too low, like after the last Marlins game. But that 6-run 5th inning where you're just, every player that comes to the plate is posing a threat to the opposition. And it's never been like that before. It's never been where you feel like this is a chance for the Tigers to break out, or this is a chance where you're putting batters up there that can actually do some damage with the bat. And this is being picky, so don't take it this way, but that 2nd inning where you get the 1 run, okay, you had 3 singles, you get the 1 run, now let's go win a pitcher's duel. That was my mindset with Skubal on the mound. You got the 1 run early. Can the Tigers scratch out a win here? Was the way this team has conditioned me to think about the game in total here. But tonight was just so refreshingly different in every player posing a threat at the plate. And I don't know, maybe there's something in the air in Phoenix. Maybe it's something about the environment, the off day. There's a lot of different theories to kind of maybe try to put your finger on this, but I chalk it up to baseball being a very, very weird game. And maybe the Tigers, this was the breakthrough night. I jokingly tweeted out breakthrough game for Colt Keith, but it really was. And maybe this is the night they needed to somehow just get out of the funk. And I'll use a cheesy basketball analogy. Great shooters need to see one go in. Maybe these great hitters that the Tigers have, all right, I'll relax. Maybe the hitters for the Tigers just needed to see it happen. They needed to see this team string some runs together with some extra base hits. They needed to feel good about themselves. And I felt like tonight was that coming out party. We'll see how it parlays into the remainder of the series. But once again, you go up and down this box score. And for once, it's a pretty sight. 2 hits for Riley Green, 2 hits for Mark Canha, a hit for Wenzel Perez and an RBI. 2 more hits for Kerry Carpenter with the 4 RBI. Matt Vierling with the triple came around to score. 4 hits for Colt Keith. That's a career high, as well as the 2 RBI for Colt Keith. Spencer Torkelson with 2 hits and a couple of shots off the bat. Javy Baez, 3 hits, 5 RBI for Javy Baez. Say something nice about Javy Baez. It's a challenge most nights, but tonight it's not. And there you have a tough night for Jake Rogers, but we'll pump the brakes a little bit on that one. So let me know what you think in the comments as well. Matt Wood, pointing it out, except for Rogers. Yeah, tough night for Jake Rogers, but he called a great game. We'll give him that. We'll say something nice about every member of this Tigers lineup and say that Jake Rogers called a really nice game behind the dish for Tarik Skubal, because we're going to talk about how good Tarik Skubal was as well, because again, you look up at that scoreboard, still not quite a final score, 13-0 Tigers here in the 9th, as we do something a little different and hop on while the game's still going on. But that's the beauty of the interweb, of the social media, of the YouTube. We're not confined to a radio schedule like I used to be at 97.1 The Ticket, or a TV schedule. We do our own thing here on Locked On Tigers Postcast. But I'm fired up. I hope you are as well, because when I was ready to punt on the season and Wednesday afternoon, I told you, you know what? If you quit on this team, you quit on this offense, I don't really blame you, because that's the result of being as bad as they are. They've given us no choice, but as they often do, they reel you back in. I saw somebody put on X or Twitter, whatever we want to call it, that this Tigers relationship is toxic, ups and downs, highs and lows, twists and turns. But hey, that's what we love about it. So Thanks for joining us on this early edition of Locked On Tigers Postcast. Don't go anywhere. We're going to break down Tarik Skubal's start and how good he was as he continues to make that case as an early frontrunner for the American League Cy Young. That's coming up next on Locked On Tigers Postcast. Hey, fired up with a new sponsor. That's right. Really excited to tell you all about Supply House, where you can get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product information to help you get the job done right. You can shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. How about that? Almost like from Detroit to Phoenix or something of that matter. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business. Who doesn't love a friendly folk in the business? And talk to a real person. I love that. Real people every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free trade master program. Every trade master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM. Did I tell you that? Free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing and HVAC and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. All right, another enjoyable part of the program. It's not often that you can queue up three really enjoyable segments to get into, and that's exactly what we have here on the Locked On Tigers Postcast. Thanks again for joining us on this live edition. Again, something we've never done before. It's that, hey, we got a lot to talk about. It's getting late. Let's hop on and get her done. So I appreciate everybody that's tuning in on the YouTube stream, and let's talk about Tarik Skubal because once again, he puts forth that winning effort when he takes the ball. You know your team is going to put their best foot forward and have a chance to win the game. And aside from only one start this season, the Tigers win when Tarik Skubal pitches. 6 innings, just the one hit. I was kind of thinking he was going to flirt around and mess with maybe some history, if you will. He's perfect through 4. Did not allow a run, an earned run. Did not walk a batter and struck out 6. He's been so good. And like I said, the way this team is built to win with the pitching. And when Tarik Skubal is as good as he's been, that is what makes watching this team enjoyable most of the time when he's on the mound. It's not always the case because we know what the offense is, but he's been so good. And I've been seeing a lot of this on Twitter, Tigers Twitter, whatever you want to call it, that maybe because of the success he's had, given the current state of the team, that maybe it is time to deal Tarik Skubal because of the haul that you would get back. So, a whole long list of top prospects, and depending on what transpires here for the rest of May into June before we get to the deadline at some point in July as well, that maybe Skubal's the guy that, hey, this unfortunately the harsh reality of the business, this is where we are. But I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to put Tarik Skubal on the market because I just don't think this team is that far away. I think by making that move, you're almost, obviously you're punting on this season, but you're just restarting the clock with prospects again. And that type of move, and I get the temptation, the lure of it all because of the return that you would get for probably the best pitcher in the American League right now on a bad baseball team. But it's too hard for me to come to grips with parting ways with Tarik Skubal, like some have suggested on Twitter, because of all the other holes in this offense. And I go back to my original beef, for lack of a better term, or point of contention with Scott Harris and the rest of this front office for constructing the team this way and not making a move to improve the offense. But Skubal is so good right now. It would just bring so much pain to me to see him dealt and pitch in a different uniform. So I'm not there. I know a lot of people on Twitter are having fun with the idea of what that could look like in the return that you could possibly get in shopping him at the deadline. But I really hope the Tigers don't do that. Now, as always, you reserve the right to change your opinion as more information becomes available. This team loses 10 games in a row, God forbid, and then maybe it's a different conversation. But this point in time, I'm not quite there yet, as now it is officially in the books. That's a shutout for the Detroit Tigers. 13-0 over the Arizona Diamondbacks. What a way to begin the series. Colt Keith with a big smile on his face. You got everybody feeling good. And this team needed an off day. They needed to reset. They needed Tarik Skubal to go take the ball, do what he does. And the offense came alive in a big way. Kerry Carpenter with a big smile. This is fun. Baseball is once again fun. And I'm back believing in this team. That's all it takes is one game for optimist fanboy Jake. But in all seriousness, I think tonight could be a night you circle on the calendar and say, this team felt like they were dead in the water after a 2-4 homestand against the Astros and the Marlins, and more notably getting shut out for 19 innings consecutively against the Marlins, to then turn around and put forth a 13-run performance, season high in runs, 17 hits, while holding the Diamondbacks to 3 hits. And again, as we're talking about Tarik Skubal right now, 6 innings, 1 hit in just the first 6 innings, no runs, 6 Ks, no walks. It's so impressive the way he continues to dazzle on the mound in every component of what makes a pitcher successful out there. Tarik Skubal embodies a superstar. He embodies an ace, and it's going to be fun to continue. We're lucky we get to watch him every 5th day. I used to feel that way about Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. The list goes on of all those great pitchers that were on that staff, and just enjoying watching them be so successful at their craft. That's the type of feeling you get with Tarik Skubal. Nice comment in here from Matt Wood. What does Reese Olson think about all this run support? Yeah, could we please do this for Reese Olson? Seriously, Jack Flaherty goes tomorrow, but my goodness, we got to find a way to get Reese Olson some run support. And it's funny because everybody probably, I wouldn't say everybody, but I certainly had this thought of, can we please save some of these runs for the rest of the series? 13 runs is great, but could we please make sure we still are able to score some runs down the stretch here, or I'm sorry, in the next couple of games over the course of the weekend series. And then obviously the road trip continues against the Kansas City Royals. But 13-0, the final in this one. Every member of the Tigers starting lineup with a hit except for Jake Rogers. Javy Baez with 5 RBI. Colt Keith with 4 hits and 3 runs scored, 2 RBI. Kerry Carpenter, a big night, 4 RBI, including that 2-run triple. All in all, this is where, as we always say, can we please find a way to sustain some type of level of consistency? I know there's 162 of these things, but my goodness, if we can see even just a fraction, a semblance of what this offense was tonight at a more consistent level, using the entire field, extra base hit after extra base hit, and actually striking fear in the opposition when you step into the batter's box with the hope of and the thought and the ability to actually get some hits and some runs and put together some long innings, bat around, then this could be a lot more fun of a summer than I had anticipated we were heading based on the sample size from earlier in the week and from, of course, the weekend series and that abysmal homestand. But we got a couple more people joining us now that the game is officially over. If you missed the beginning of the show, we threw a little curveball at you went on live since it was a late game out west before the game was over. Felt like it was in the balance. So keep you on your toes. If you don't already, follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma. I'm always tweeting out the show link. And the cool thing about the YouTube platform, once we complete our live broadcast, you can go back and listen to the show in its entirety. Born Cool checking in. We deserve this one. Appreciate that, Born Cool. Absolutely. For what Tigers fans sat through those last two games against the Miami Marlins, this was the least they could do, right? Think about us fans out there. We got to watch this every day. This was the least they could do. And my goodness, it was fun. Hit after hit after hit, extra base hit here. The young guys stepping up. And again, like I mentioned, top to bottom, aside from Jake Rogers, everybody was really, really good at the plate. And it was great. It was fun. Season high in runs. Tarik Skubal was amazing on the mound. And you add that all up, mix it in a bowl, and you've got 13-0 Tigers win this one. And continue to be sneaky good on the road, 12-19 now, 3 games over 500 on the road, back to an even 500 at 22-22. All right, we'll tie a bow on this one. Again, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, Locked On Sports Detroit. Doesn't cost you anything. And we will wrap this one up with our studs and duds. Don't go anywhere. We've got one more segment to go on this live edition of Locked On Tigers Postcast. All right, let's talk about today's sponsor for just a moment. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. That's right. I love FanDuel. You love FanDuel. Who doesn't love FanDuel? What's not to love? Here's what I got to tell you about FanDuel right now. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. I mentioned that in the open, but let me tell you about it one more time in case you missed it. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, players, props, you name it, so much more. You know, America's #1 sportsbook has got it all covered. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. We're in the postseason on the hardwood and on the ice. We got Stars and Avs going right now. The Knicks did not close it out against the Indiana Pacers on the road. So that means the two best words in sports, Game 7. So get your bets in for Knicks and Pacers as well. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We'll give it to you one more time. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. Final segment of the program. It's studs and duds. And we've had several shows, especially recently, where we don't have any studs. We just have all duds. But this might be a Locked On Tigers postcast first. The history of our prestigious career show, life, history, whatever you want to call it. The all studs, no duds edition of Studs and Duds. And I guess I'll start on the bump. Tarik Skubal, 6 innings pitch, just the 1 hit, no runs, 6 Ks, no walks. Very studly performance. I'll go ahead and add the bullpen in there as well for preserving the shutout. You had Will Vest and Joey Wentz take it the rest of the way. 2 innings pitch for Joey Wentz. Did allow 2 hits, no runs. That's all that matters. Struck out 2. Will Vest, 1 inning, did not give up a run. Struck out a batter. All told, it's 9 innings of scoreless baseball, allowing just 3 hits and 9 strikeouts. You love to see it from the pitching staff for some of our studs today. Now, the offense, this is going to take a while, which is fun. It's a toss-up for me for our top offensive stud, Javy Baez, which, again, let's all circle this episode because that's got to be 6 nice things I've said about Javy Baez. Neil Rule and I were joking around on Twitter earlier today. Gotta love Neil Rule, the voice of the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, giving me a hard time with my Javy love. And listen, I'll be fair to Javy. I think he's not I don't think he's a good player. I think he hurts this team more often than not. We've all said that. We've all been vocal about it. But at the same time, when the guy puts forth 5 RBI with 3 hits and 4 at-bats, as well as scoring a run, I'm going to give him his flowers. I'm going to give him his due and be fair. So good stuff there from Javy Baez. But Colt Keith, while we circle this game for so many different reasons from the offense as a whole, this might have been the Colt Keith breakout game. 4 hits in 5 at-bats for Colt Keith. That's a career high with the 4 hits, the 2 RBI, the 3 runs. And this might be getting into Jake Reitma, stay in your lane. You don't know what the heck you're talking about. So fair enough if this take is in that family of just relax a little. You don't know what you're talking about. But I feel like with the expectations that were on Colt Keith, combined with the horrific start he got off to, he talked about deleting all the social media and things of that nature. I think the mental component of the game is very, very real with every player, but to varying degrees. But I think, and again, this is just my opinion, my speculation, that he can be a guy that maybe when it's bad, he gets a little bit down, but when it's good, it could be really good. And again, probably putting way too much thought, way too much stock into the body language. But I saw the guy smile for what felt like the first time in weeks. And not that he shows a lot of emotion, but he genuinely looked excited to be wearing the Tigers uniform, to be performing. And obviously, anyone that's played any sport at a high level, it's fun when you have success and it's not fun when you suck. So that's pointing out the obvious in some sense, but maybe he is a little bit of that guy that wears his emotion on his sleeve. And just like when things spiral, when things are going well, he can utilize that momentum and continue to put forth a really, really strong effort and continue to be the guy that the Tigers had hoped. So that said, really, really excited for Skubal and all the local guys, which is cool. They talked about on the broadcasts, obviously Skubal being from nearby, Torque with a bunch of people in attendance, being the Arizona State Sun Devil, Torque's up, if you will. Shout out to everybody tuning in Tempe. But any way you slice it, this was just a really, really good night for the Detroit Tigers and everybody that supports this team in a much needed spot. Because again, every fan is entitled to their own opinion, is entitled to how they want to approach this team, how they want to look at it. But after those 2 games against the Marlins, it really was feeling close to season's over territory. And maybe that's too dramatic for me. If you want to tell me I'm being too dramatic, fine, hand up. I'll wear that. But my goodness, this was just so genuinely needed and reignites that fire, that passion, that excitement for what this team can be. Born Cool getting in the comments. Appreciate that. Scoob's only plus 180 now for Cy Young. That's right. I made that future at the beginning of the season. That could be a nice little payday for your boy. So appreciate everybody tuning in on the live YouTube session. As always, you can find all of our episodes on Locked On Sports Detroit. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. What are you doing? And don't forget, if you are watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV, you probably have to turn down the volume with all this shouting. So make the switch to Locked On Sports today. A free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. That's Locked On Sports Today, bringing you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, all a part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And Locked On has also launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's now also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Don't forget, Tigers will go for their second consecutive win in Game 2 of the 3-game series tomorrow evening It is an 8:05 start. We'll be on the air after, or maybe, just make sure you're on your toes, because we could be on the air. If it's another blowout, we'll hop on, because that's what this is all about. If you missed me on Locked On Lions yesterday, had a blast with Matt Derry. So check that out, because again, we're going to be doing live post-game shows after Lions games, after Tigers games, and after Pistons games, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you check out Locked On Tigers with Scott Bentley, doing a great job as always. Our two-prong attack to cover in the Tigers. Matt Derry and I with the two-prong attack to cover in the Lions, and this will be your home for instant reaction and analysis and chopping it up about our team. So thanks so much for tuning into this edition. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Tigers win this one 13-0 over the Diamondbacks, back to the 500 mark. Jack Flaherty will go for the Tigers tomorrow in game 2, but Tarik Skubal, 6 innings of shutout baseball, season high 13 runs. This one was a lot of fun. Shout out to the everydayers that are tuning in every single live Locked On Tigers postcast. We appreciate you. And until next time, have a wonderful evening. Go Tigers. Let's do this again next time. Huh? Let's do this again tomorrow, not next week. How does that sound? Sounds like a plan. Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time on Locked On Tigers postcast.